We only have a couple of minutes left, but in the last few minutes, where do you see hope in the work of the church in these areas? We've talked a fair bit about things that we see that the church could and should and needs to do better in. But how, where are strides being made here? Do you see any?
I do. And I really appreciate this question because it's so easy to pinpoint all the problematic areas, right? We are kind of like, even for me doing this work for almost 30 years now, right? Like I am conditioned to looking for the gaps. And
Mm,
so I always love, pausing and saying, but wait a minute, where are the wins, right? And we need that because it can feel like we're throwing a cup of water on a forest fire when we're having these conversations. Sometimes it's hard to even see if we're making headway,
yeah.
and we need to be able to pause and celebrate the wins that we have. So I will tell you that I see quite a bit of hope. Here we are, 2024, post George Floyd. And this season, and I call that a secondary, like an awakening, where people could not dismiss, right, after seeing this video, could not dismiss that racism exists. People who had been in spaces where it had been explained away and had been, it had been not discussed, and silence is violence, right? Like these are, and so now we have this, and it caused this awakening, which led to an urgency for people to want to understand and to talk more, and to dig deeper. And so I feel like that hunger for awareness, for wisdom, is encouraging, because that means that if you're hungry for it, you recognize the value of it,
Mm,
right? If you're hungry for it, you recognize the nutrients that are here and why this is something that's here. And see, we can do a lot with that. Like I think about when when I'm doing adjunct work, in a university or in a seminary, people are taking courses that they have to take. So there's a difference when you have to take something, and you're kind of checking the box, versus, which is how we have been with anti-racism education traditionally,
yeah.
versus people that are saying, this is food that I know that I need. And so, because I'm hungry for it, I'm listening differently, I'm preparing differently, I'm engaging differently. So, there's an openness that I hear and that I have encountered that is encouraging for me, because I'm not necessarily having to prove.
Mm,
Right? There's less gaslighting. I don't have to prove that racism exists. That's not a conversation that we're having anymore,
right.
which is refreshing.
I bet.
I also see hope, because when I look around, because I even in our young people, right? Like I look around and I see that our young people are courageously having conversations
Yeah.
in spaces. Here I'm again talking about these college protests, and I'm not saying that I'm excited about, about
Mm,
fights or protests or disagreement. I'm not saying that, but I am excited about people having voice. And I'm
yeah.
excited about that, about people being, being motivated and being inspired to stand up and speak for what's right. And I see more of that happening, which gives me hope, because it means that it isn't left to one particular group of people to have to address this. It's not, the onus isn't on me as a black queer woman, right, to have to solve and address the racism that actively works to erase me. I'm not the only one doing that. Now it's me and it's you, right? And it's other people that are here. And so now there is hope, because there's hope in community and in collectiveness, the interconnectedness that we have here. That really inspires me, because to be honest, and I say this and I'll say this and I'll be quiet, is that we oftentimes say, people think that the whole goal is to extinguish racism, dismantle
Mm,
racism, and it is. But people of color don't expect that. Like, we know that racism exists. We don't expect that to be erased, right? We know it's going to be here for a while. What we're hoping for is to not have to navigate that journey alone. That's the
yeah.
piece, is to know that when I'm standing up saying that something isn't right, or that, that I'm not standing on my own, that I'm standing in a community that is holding me and lifting me up and standing with me in being able to move forward. We recognize these things are going to happen.
Yeah.
But how do we support and advocate so that church becomes the true pillar of refuge, space of refuge that it was intended to be,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That's where I see the hope. I see the hope in numbers,
Yeah.
um, and in awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The concept of shared community, even when, and of course in community and relationship, we mess up. We mess it up all the time. Sin comes from the Greek hamartia, which is to miss the mark, as one does in archery. We always miss the mark on this, but how important it is to continue to try and to try together, because we will learn and grow and get better at it than we would alone. And what a gift. So yeah,
Yes.
that's a really good word. That's a hopeful word.
Oh,
Reverend Dr. Gia Starr Brown, thank you very much for this conversation. So grateful.
no, thank you so much for having me and for engaging me in this. This is my passion, my life's work, and I'm grateful for it. Thanks for the work that you
Yeah,
do.
yeah, thank you.